Well, it says we may be witnessing the end of corporations taking strong stances on cultural issues in America. There was a rumor we were going to a different segment, but I think we still have Trish Regan coming up. But now the teleprompter is changing. So we believe that we have a different segment that we're going to now talk about. The very same voters who elected Barack Obama as America's first black president now skew more conservative. New data out shows young voters, millennials, born between 1981 and 1996, are turning away from the Democratic Party. As we promised you, here it is, the data. Over the past decade, almost every cohort of voters under 50 has shifted toward the right based on an analysis of thousands of survey interviews archived at the Roper Center. We're seeing, quote, a different story emerging, tracking voters over the last time. It tells us voters from 2008 are not the same as voters in 2016. Data is showing the shift to the right appears largely among the oldest of young voters. All right, former Democratic staff member, founder and chief strategist, Third Degree Strategies, Max Burns, is with us now. Max, help us understand this. Is this as simple as, gee, when people grow up and have kids and mortgages and have to think about retirement, they become more conservative?
It's partly that, for sure. I think there's no surprise that most of this change is happening among the older, sort of elder millennial cohort here. And then as people get older, they start to care a little bit more about that capital gains tax. That's a completely regular shift. But I think this is also driven in part by right now you have two parties that are sort of figuring out what they're going to be for the next generation. And we've seen that both parties have lost the number of people who view themselves, who ID themselves as Democrat or Republican in favor of independence. So it is part of, I think, a wider skepticism of ideologies in general. I mean, we see very similar things happening on the right.
Yeah, and you also right now see the Hawley, for example, the extremes of both parties are almost meeting kind of at the bottom of the magnet, if you will, or the bottom of the horseshoe. You talk about the identity issue. How much of this shift, you think, and how much of the danger for Democrats comes from the culture wars?
Well, one of the things is that Democrats are, in a sense, a victim of their own success here. I mean, things like the Afghanistan war, the Iraq war, that brought a lot of people into progressive politics. Gay rights issues have, not to say been completely solved, but a lot of the work has been done, a lot of progress has been made. So it becomes harder to mobilize people on those issues. But I think when you see the issues people still care about, abortion, trans rights, the environment, those are the issues they're still sort of hanging on to their liberal ideas on. So while they may be getting a little bit more economically conservative, what's taking them to the ballot box is still pretty much the same.
Yeah, no, I think you're interesting to bring that up, and I would grant you abortion, right? Because we see that in the midterms. But as our next segment is going to illustrate coming up, I'm wondering if there's not a chance Democrats sort of overplayed their hand on this, right? That gay marriage really worked, and that was something people really got on board with. But when it comes to having to champion young girls competing against otherwise young men in high school sports and these other issues, if Democrats don't have to be careful, because that's not where the country is right now.
It's certainly a tightrope that we're walking right now. There's certainly voices in the Democratic Party that would like to avoid those social issues next year. But I think Democrats have seen, especially on abortion, where in a place like Kansas, 7 in 10 new voters were women mobilized by abortion. That's something Democrats see as an energizing factor. They're going to lean into that. And at least so far, the data shows their voters are willing to follow them.
Yeah, no, I completely am with you on the abortion issue as being something that's extraordinarily powerful for Democrats and for swing voters. And we've even seen that as an issue in the presidential race on the Republican side. You got Ron DeSantis with a 6-week ban, and you got Donald Trump saying, "Hey, I'm not so sure." That's where we want to go. Are you starting to see any movement within the Democratic Party, maybe even the compromise we just saw right now between Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden, a nod to some concept of fiscal conservatism, trying to rein in the progressive spending?
Yeah, I think what you saw originally here with Joe Biden's plan for next year was to make a very nuts and bolts economic and jobs argument. That's still, I believe, the plan, and gearing up now. That's given strength by the fact that Joe Biden has shown he can cut bipartisan deals.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.